What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Saturday edition of the Art and Stuff Show. Shout out to Sean. I'm flying solo tonight, so you are all just stuck with looking at my sexy face, which is not that bad of a gig, I'll say, for you. For you. But without further ado, I'm going to bring out a guy that I've just recently got to know over the last, I don't know, about a year or so. But he's into a lot of stuff. And he's an inker, he's a creator, he's an actor. He's got campaigns and all this stuff on Kickstarter, one that I'm actually a part of. So without further ado, because I'm just rambling here, I'm going to bring on Austin Janowsky, which I just figured out how to pronounce today. So I got it right. So here we go. Austin Janowsky, welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing?
I am so proud of you. Well done. Most people
Thank you.
add letters or whatever, but you did it, and good for you. And you and your sexy face should be proud of yourselves this Saturday.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Sir, thanks for having me.
Definitely. So before we get into anything, for anybody that doesn't know, you have a Kickstarter going on right now called Zombies We're Human 2 Volume 2
Yes.
that has been successfully funded, and I think it's only got 3 days left, right?
Yep.
If I'm correct.
Yes.
And this is actually a project that I'm involved in. I think I did an 8-page story with my writer Joel Rodriguez, who was doing my book Reaper Destroyer with me. So that's cool. It's exciting that it got funded, and looking to see it reaching the hands of everybody. And I'm looking forward to reading it myself, because I know there's a lot of talented people that you combined for artists and writers. And I read the first one that you did, and I really liked that. There was some really cool art, cool story. Obviously, the main story is awesome. How'd you come up with that idea? Like, what is your love affair with zombies, I guess I should say?
It's funny. So I was a guest at Wizard World Atlanta. It's probably about 12 years now, 12 years ago. And so I went down, and they gave us lunch. So I'm sitting down, and these nice people come sit down. So we get to chatting, and come to find out that they are the first featured zombies of The Walking Dead. Now, if you remember the Entertainment Weekly cover where you have Rick, like this with the gun, and the zombies are in the background.
Yep.
That was that. So
Nice.
I thought that was very cool. So we chatted some more, and I just jokingly said, man, it'd be cool if we did some background stories of who you were before you became zombies. Wouldn't that be neat? Jokingly. But they liked it. Yeah, they got a little traction, but legally, contractually, they weren't able to do that. So I just put it to the side. But, Facebook doing the wonderful 7-8 years ago, this popped up. And I said, man, I wish we could have done something with this. And people just came out of the woodwork and, oh, this is great. Oh, I love it. Oh, yeah, let me help. I want to be a part of it. And that's just how we got the first one put together. So the story basically is 3 kids are foraging, spooked by zombies, chasing to the warehouse. And they call them the youngest. The other 2 pick up zombies that they see, make up stories of who they were, how long they last, and sometimes how they die in a funny way. That's basically it. I wanted to tell a zombie story that was completely different from anything else. And the artists and writers, the indie people who jumped on board were fantastic. And we did a Kickstarter last year, which we got funded. First one, it was amazing. And then we got into volume 2, which we have even some people from 1 jumped to 2. We got new people like you and Joel. Actor, director Joe Davison of Stranger Things 2 did a story.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, volume 2's taking it up to the next level. And we had a Kickstarter running in March for that too. But then the pandemic happened, COVID-19. And we had no idea what was going to happen, as society, nation, financially, and otherwise. And I felt that it was not right. It wasn't the right thing to do to run this campaign. If people are going to be worrying about their pennies, who am I to take anything from that? So we canceled. I wanted to wait and see what was going on. And a few months later, thank God, we're better than what we were. And we decided we're going to relaunch the campaign, which we did and funded in 2 days.
Yep.
4.
Yep.
I was expecting like a longer, because the first one we funded like that day. We had a $1,600 day to get it funded.
Oh, wow.
So between the first and second one, we lowered the rates some to make sure that we could be funded to get the books to everyone. We changed reward tiers a little bit to make it easier for retailers to get books, shipping, cause for them. Something for, if you don't like comic books, we like zombies. Like we did interesting things like T-shirts or the mystery box where you can get like a patch or stickers, whatever.
Right.
So we upped our Kickstarter game, and we've been in stretch goals ever since. We did the really cool zombified bookmark, which is awesome, and then we did the indie comics bundle, which we have digital PDFs from Russell Nolte, Luke Stone, the people at Inkford Studios, and an old superhero book, Tan, that I did a while ago. So yeah, that's the long answer for my Kickstarter and where it came from. So
That's awesome. And for anybody that is interested that hasn't done the campaign, it is.
why not? Why haven't you?
I know, right? Live on Kickstarter right now. So you can go to Kickstarter, look up zombies, or look up the relaunch of Zombies Were Human 2, Volume 2. And we got 3 days left on this thing. So get it while you can. You know, it's gonna be a fun book. The first one was great. The second one, I think it's gonna be even better, including stories by myself and Joel in there. But go to this page, go to Kickstarter, check it out. I think it's a really unique story. And when Joel first approached me about it, he was telling me about the concept when he was kind of pitching it to me before he came to you and said that I would be interested. And I was like, you know what, that's actually a really cool story, because you can have so many different variations within that book itself, and it really opens up the ability for writers to come in and just tell a truly unique story within the story.
Yep.
So I definitely encourage everybody who's watching this, and anybody that supports me, supports Joel, supports Austin, go get this, because it's going to be cool. You're going to see it. When is this? When are you planning on shipping it? Fulfilling?
September. Yeah,
September?
We're shooting for September, and then we're already in the works for Volume 3. We've already got 60 pages of story and art done for 3. Nice. We're expecting a lot more. We're going to make this book bigger than 100 pages. And yeah, so mid-September is what we're planning on doing. And for those of you that like the concept or are hearing it for the first time and you want to pick up 1 and 2, we have catch-up tiers on our Kickstarter. So you can pick up 1 and 2. If you like digital, we got you for digital. If you like print, we've got soft cover and hardcover catch-up. Not mustard, but catch-up.
Nice.
See what I did there? Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Very, very clever.
That's dad humor right there, buddy.
Well, what we usually like to do on the show, I just wanted to bring up the Kickstarter real quick, because I know we're getting close to the end of it, and since we're both involved in it, I just wanted to bring that out and talk about that for a second. But what we usually like to do is talk about your origin story. And I know it's very unique because you do a lot of things, and not just art or inking. I mean, you're also an actor, so you do quite a bit of stuff. How did you get into this crazy profession that you've done for the last 20 some odd years?
Well, thank you. That's a very good question, Joe. So I collected comic books since I was 14. X-Men 205 was the first book I ever read, and I fell in love. But I like to draw. I was drawing since I was 8. You know, D&D characters, you know, fantasy stuff, and then it was comic books. And when I wanted to become a comic book artist, I was going to a show in Syracuse, and Bart Sears was going to be there, and he was working on Justice League Europe, and I wanted a Power Girl sketch. I'm 20-something years old. I want, you know, boobs.
Yep.
So
yeah, I mean,
I'm
why not?
line, and I got my books to get signed, and I'm getting my commission, and he gives me a head sketch, just a head. So I'm literally doing this. I'm like this. And I'm looking, and he looks up. He's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Headshot? Really? What? I mean," he goes, "You know how many of these I've drawn?" I'm like, "That's a problem." And then he sees I'm holding. He's like, "So were you a comic book artist?" And then I'm like, and then I show him to him, and he looks at him, and he actually takes him in and looks at him. Now, Graham Nolan was sitting on his left. He's working on Hawkworld. Tom Lyle was sitting on his right. So after he looked at it, he showed it to Graham. And then Graham wrote a couple things down and showed it to Tom. And Tom wrote a couple of notes, and it got passed right down the table. Now, this was when shows were small. One-day shows, comic book artists were like the thing. You know, there was a few vendors for comic books, but that was about it.
Oh, looks like he froze. See, real quick if he comes back on. He lost in hmm. Either that or he's a really, really good actor. I did say he was an actor, so this might just be improv there.
Which is what I did. You're having trouble connecting.
Oh, there you go. He's back. Yeah, you froze for a second.
Sorry. So as I was saying,
good.
Once I got my samples shown and they said you show promise, I'm like, woo, I'm going to be a comic book artist. And my parents like, woo, you're going to have a backup plan.
I know how that feels. I know how that feels.
I got my degree in design. So while I was trying to make it big at Marvel, I got into graphics. First 4 or so years was newspaper. When I moved to Florida, I got a job at Lockheed Martin doing graphics. And then from there, I was able to work at Disney and then Universal and then Warner Brothers and then NASCAR. And then the last 6-7 years, I was a creative director for a couple of agencies before I finally decided to stop working for other people and work for myself. And during that time, I was lucky enough to work with Bob Layton on Iron Man in the End, to assist Jay Leaston on X-Men Unlimited and Tomb Raider. Plus, I'd be able to work for like IDW, Devil's Due, Dynamite, Alias, a bunch of other independents over the years. Plus, putting out my own books. My first book I put out in '94.
Wow.
They were based on my D&D characters, and I went through Diamond and Capital, and I had ordered, and then I made a profit, and they were nationally distributed.
That's awesome.
No idea what I was doing. Yeah, this is easy.
Right.
So I guess my point is I like being creative, and I like telling stories. So trying to get into comics and telling stories was my way of being creative. Films were in my head. I tried to put on paper and tell stories. Graphically, in graphic design, as I went up the ranks, I was a content creative person. I came up with the concepts and being creative in that aspect. And the funny thing is, all through high school when I was drawing, I was theatrical, like musicals and, most theatrical, whatever. But, I'm upstate New York. There's no way I'm possibly going to do that. Comic books is the thing I can do to fulfill my dream of being that creative person because it's such an amazing medium. It's so unique. Right. So that was my thing. And I've been doing it for 26 years now.
Right? That is awesome, man. That is not that many people get to do that much. What's awesome about the old school conventions is it was so much about the artists and the comic books. Nowadays, much more pop culture. Artist Alley isn't what it used to be. Even when I started going to conventions, showing my work off when I was in my, I think I was like 20, 21 when I actually got enough confidence to go and show my work.
Yeah.
And even at that point, there was still quite a bit of focus on the artists. I mean, it was much more pop culture, but I mean, that was like right around 2001, 2002. So there was still quite a bit of buzz. And you went to Artist Alley, packed, packed full of people. And you could talk to artists, you could show your work, all that kind of stuff. And, the industry's just changed so much since then. It's kind of a bummer when you think about it, because your story of how you just went there and you showed all these guys just sitting right there in a row and they all took a chance, took a second to look at your work and make notes. That's awesome. And I don't feel like that really happens too much anymore. So it's, it's kind of a sad thing, but that's a cool thing, because I always enjoy hearing stories about when it was like that, when you could go there and you could possibly get a job by just showing your work and, get noticed a little bit more.
Well, honestly, that was kind of the whole thing behind Zombies Were Human too. Also, the zombie writers and artists, I didn't want just all pros. I wanted beginners. I wanted, directors and screenwriters that have never been able to do the comic book thing they've always wanted to. Novelists who weren't able to break in that field. I wanted to bring them all in and not have the pressure of making a full book. You have 1 to 10 pages. That's the zombie story. It's not as daunting. And giving people their first time to get published. You know what I mean? Matthew Kaiser, great guy. This is his only real publishing thing, but that's given him confidence to do other stuff. Joe Davison has never been in a comic book. He's always wanted to be in a comic book, write a story, and get published. we're doing that. So that's
Yeah.
the whole thing. Collaboration is what I've always loved. That's why I liked inking, because I could work on great stories with great artists. And
Right.
back when we started, an inker's job was finishing the page. And then colors was a byproduct. It was put in just to do something. It's nowhere near what it is nowadays. Coloring is a complete art form unto itself that compared to what it was. So that's why I wanted to be an inker, because I wanted to finish the page. But I wanted the collaboration too. So I'm very happy with Zombies that we are able to have a collaboration of pros, independents, a lot of hot independent creators, directors, screenwriters, novelists, all put in together in this one, telling a really cool, unique zombie sort of story.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome concept, just to help people get in and do stuff that they might not have had a chance to do. And today's market, I guess, so to speak, the indie scene is actually something that's doing really, really well. Because I know there's tons of controversy when you get into the mainstream comics. I'm not really going to get into it. We all know what it is. People butt heads about certain stuff, but the indie scene, it's much more free. You can kind of do what you want. Nobody's breathing down your neck. And if you can get it crowdfunded, you get your book out there and it's published.
Yeah,
and there's so many great works. Yeah, there's so many great works out there right now. Kickstarter and Indiegogo. A lot of people I know, I mean, that have always had a dream to do comics are doing it now because they see the state we are in now. I think it's a resurgence for the indie scene. It's an exciting feeling when you look onto that indie scene and you see like, wow, that's a possibility, something I can do. Let's go do it.
Yeah, you can tell any story that you want to tell. What I like about this graphic novel is that we have a diverse group of main characters. We have a strong female, we have a strong African-American character, and we have a young Hispanic character. And the only reason I did that was, if you're in a apocalypse or whatever, you're not going to have all one groups of people. It's whoever can make it in one spot and try to survive and be safe. You're going to have a mosh podge of different people. That was the whole point. You know what I mean? Just people, not races, not age, whatever. Just people trying to survive.
Yeah,
that's why I wanted my main characters to kind of be. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, to me, and maybe it's just because I was naive to everything growing up, but like when I read comics, I saw diverse characters. Marvel comics, X-Men. You had females, you had black, you had white, you had Latinos. And I just thought it was all cool because they're all cool. I mean, Bishop was one of my favorite X-Men. He was just such. I mean, the character design by Portasio, the way he drew him. And then obviously the way Jim Lee took him over and everything, just the way Claremont wrote him. Yeah. I mean, that was a super awesome character, but that's just the thing about, I don't know, whatever's going on in the mainstream days and the politics and all that stuff. But it's cool just to take a step back and, like you said, it's just people. No more focused on anything other than the fact that you just think about reality for a second. If there wasn't a zombie apocalypse, which for some reason a lot of people are excited about if that was ever a possibility. Me, not so much. I don't think I want to live in a zombie apocalypse. But if there was, you just run into whoever you run into, and that's instantly a person that you're surviving with, unless they're trying to take your stuff, like Walking Dead stuff. But if that aside, if you run into somebody, you're probably surviving with them, and then that's it. That's your partner going forward, until maybe one of you guys dies or you guys survive. So to have your book come out and have those three diverse characters, age-wise too, I thought it was really cool. You had a younger character and two older characters, and the idea that they would use these stories to calm that person that was more fearful of the situation, and sometimes turn it into kind of like a funny twist of a story, adds a uniqueness to the zombie lore, I guess, if you want to say it, the way that it's told. Bishop was dope. Absolutely.
Very dope. Absolutely. And our stories and everything are PG-13. I wanted to make sure, because horror can get hard, R-rated, really kind of, and I want to make sure since it's some humor and everything to it. I want it to be PG-13. So this way I can tell parents, well, now it's just PG-13. It's no worse than any zombie video game that
Right.
your kids are playing right now. So you'll be safe.
I remember when I was going over Joel's script, and he told me that too. He's like, we have to. He's like, we can do gore. He's like, but it's got to be the certain kind of gore. And I was just like, I was like, you got to draw zombies. You got to draw zombies killing people. Like, I got to keep it tame. It's like, man, that's just not what I'm about. So I had to really pull back a little bit. In my mind, I'm just like, oh, I can do so much with this stuff, but it turned out pretty good. And actually censoring some of the gore, so to speak, or just choosing not to show it in a way that's like you're saying, like R-rated, really wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. When we actually went through the final version of the script, I was like, yeah. Artistically, I thought it came out good, and it's black and white, which is nice. So the parts where there is blood, it's not going to show up. At least, So that's a plus.
Yeah. No, you did fantastic. I'm very happy with your story. So, I love that. I liked how unique all the stories are for Volume 2. Volume 1, we had great stories, and then I had to make the main story kind of fit around it. For 2, I was able to learn from, like, okay, I have a basic outline of what we're doing with 2, and then getting stories that fit what the story is going to be with 2. And I've already got the layout for 3, and the story ideas that are coming in for 3, I'm picking and choosing and tweaking that fits that, which makes it easier, I think, on everyone.
Right. You got general concepts to kind of fit in. Yeah, it does make it a little bit easier for the creative groups that are jumping on to be a part of that overall story.
Yep.
You know what my favorite story from the first volume, and I can't remember what the creative team was, but I just remember the concept of the story was just they followed this kid around who was in his phone 24/7, and he had no idea that the world went to shit around him and that the zombies were just like following him until the bitter end. I was just like, the art was great in that story. I love the concept because the modern day zombie right now is just that. It's just that, and I was like, oh, that's brilliant. So I mean, I connected with that one right off the bat. I was like, that's awesome. Like, whoever did that, whatever the creative team was, I was like, that was great.
Oh, that's Garrett Gunn of Source Point Press, and that was Stan Yak doing the artwork.
Awesome. That's cool, because I got the PDF of it, so I didn't get the physical of it. So I ended up just like flipping through the PDF, and I was just reading. I didn't really pay attention to too much of the names at that point, because I was using it for research because I was getting ready to do Volume 2. So I was like, I want to see what Volume 1's all about. So I went through and read a bunch of them, and I just kind of connected more to the stories. And I didn't really at the time pay attention too much to the creators, but that was just definitely one that resonated with me. And it kind of gives a really good example of the uniqueness of the different stories that a writer can tell within your story. And it gives that twist at the end. And it is something that you could see as a TV series very easily, in my opinion. You could see this be a TV series, and it would be a very, very, you'd never run out of stories. Essentially, you could always have stories and follow your main characters around as they go. So
that's the hope. That's the plan. That's what I'm hoping to do.
That'd be really cool.
Episodic, yeah. Oh yeah. We have books, we have the deck, we have things put in place. Once 3 is all squared away, then we can hopefully start pitching. Once Hollywood gets up and going, it's been in a standstill since March. So, and I don't think it's, from last I heard, it's not really start opening up. I mean, legitimately opening up until September or October now. So
yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year for movies. Like, I don't think I've ever been a part of a year where you haven't had a ton of movies coming out. So this is it's unique, So it'll be interesting to see who gets back on their feet, who does it right, out of the gate, how movies do, box office. I mean, some people are talking about the theater is going to be like, the theater is dead. It's all going to streaming now, which I hope doesn't happen, because there's a classicness to going to see a movie in the theater. I know it's not as convenient as watching in your own room, at your own living room, but it's just fun to go to the theater and see a big, like a Endgame or Infinity War or something like that. There's nothing better than being that big screen, sound system, in the dark, So I really hope theaters stick around for a while.
There's a rumor that like Disney and other the big people might buy these theater chains because for reasons.
Hold on a second. You were breaking up. You're still breaking up just a little bit. So when we get you back here, I want you to repeat what you said because I was really interested in that. So hopefully that clears up in a second. And if you are having issues, you can always jump out of the stream real quick and come back in. Sometimes that fixes it. So if you're frozen for too long, we can do that. Yeah, there we go. So when he does get back, though, I don't know if anybody knows Austin, but he is an actor as well. So I want to jump into how he got into acting because I've always thought that was, a very interesting career to get into. I don't think I have the chops to be an actor, but I definitely have the looks. I could be an actor. Yeah, just look at me. I'm gorgeous.
All right.
There he is.
Talking about your face again.
Yeah, I mean, that's my go-to. I got to stall a little bit, just talk about my looks.
So what I was saying was, back in the 1910s, 2030s, big studios owned theater chains, so they could get their movies not only seen by people, but for award seasons. To get awards, you need to have theatrical release. So Disney and them, there's rumors that Disney will buy one, and Warner Bros. Will buy one, or Universal will buy, and this way they can continue the awards part, right? And then they can also do their streaming services too. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
I mean, that would make sense. I mean, for all that, and I mean, it's a money driver. I don't even know how they can figure out on a streaming service like how many views, how popular a movie is, all that kind of stuff when it comes to deciding if you're going to make a sequel. So it's going to be, long story short, I hope the theaters stick around for a long, long time. And I can take my daughter to go see her first movie, and it's not just all streaming service.
Yeah,
that's something I'm really looking forward to do. The streams are doing that today. Well, yeah, maybe. It's weird.
Yeah, like maybe Apple and Netflix and everything, they do a limited theatrical release, and then they do streaming services. Like, and I don't want to jump ahead with the whole acting thing, but one of the films that I'm in called 45 Seconds is looking to be on Netflix in the fall.
Nice.
And there might be a limited release in theaters, depending with if they're going to do that or not.
Well, I mean, since you brought it up, I was actually wanting to get there anyway. How did you get into acting, and how's that going for you?
Well, when I was finishing up the whole advertising thing, I had a couple of friends that were making films and whatnot. And they said, "Hey, you want to be a ghoul? Yeah, sure. You want to be a bodyguard? Yeah, man, sure. That's cool."
Nice.
It's amazing being on set and seeing what happens behind the scene and what happens in front of the scene. And I was enthralled, because, and I like to act. It was fun. And I just said, well, if I want to try to do this, I mean, what do I do? What's the first step? Blah, blah, blah. Well, you need to start auditioning for stuff. And then you get experience auditioning, and hopefully you start booking. It's like, cool. So I started auditioning, but I got roles. And then these roles were enough I could make a reel, and I got an agent, which opened up doors to do some commercials. And that opened up doors to other small films, which kind of grew, and to some feature films. And then I got another agent, and I got a manager. And this past year and a half is when it's really kind of leveled up, like to the next level. And going to class, I have a mentor, Lee Perkins, who's my acting teacher. He was in the Oscar Foxcatcher.
Okay.
He was in The Domestics and a bunch of other films, and he's really kind of helped, so Miser techniques and a bunch of everything. So weekly trainings, daily trainings, monologues, that sort of thing, really putting in the work, and things are starting to pick up. So 45 Seconds is going to be on Netflix, as well as another film called Three Black Men and a Jew Walk into a Bar. That is by Jeff Cutler. He is part of the writing team of Happy Gilmore or Happy Madison.
Yeah.
The writers for them. And There's another one called Painkiller that's going to be in theaters probably in December. Just got finished. There was a Christmas movie called Elfette Stays Christmas that just was in Walmart and everything this past holiday season. And I'm in a new episodic series created by Dan Marek of the Blair Witch Project and Jeffrey Reddick of Final Destination. So I was in episode 1, and I'm waiting to hear if I'm going to be in episode 2, and I'll hopefully find out in September. So how am I doing this? You know, what Lee told me was be truthful, just be yourself, and then just do your version. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's basically, whenever I do an audition, those are the 3 things I just try to do. I mean, be yourself, be yourself, be truthful, and try to see if they'll buy your version. And if they do, great, you're booked. If not, well, then don't worry about it. Something happens, and then you move on. Like I was on a callback for the Righteous Gemstones TV show on HBO.
Really?
3 episodes, yeah. Right when it shut down, pandemic. So I never found out if I got it or not. I was supposed to find out, and the day I was supposed to find out, bam, they shut production. So, who knows? Who knows? But what being in front of the camera gave me the taste of wanting to make films too. So
I can ask that. Yeah, that's
so
my next question.
I've written and directed about 5 films, 2 proof of concept films, and I've helped produce 2 TV pilots and a web series. And one, Don't Change the Channel, was a reality TV show that got on Roku. The other one is called Timing, that is on Amazon right now, and it might be on Hulu once season 2 is done. And then the web series is the Dawn of the Dead web series that I created with, well, Rick Danford created. I helped co-produce the pilot and a couple web episodes. And I actually made a prequel comic book from Dawn and the Dead. And so yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. I wouldn't be able to do acting or this without my wife. You know, she gave me 3 years. Luckily, we're doing good. So she gave me a couple more years, and hopefully we can continue the trajectory. But the only reason I'm able to do this because I took a chance, kind of like you with comic books. You know what I mean? The what ifs will just drive you absolutely insane, and that's what was doing it. And I found the opportunity to do so, but I went at it professionally. You know what I mean? I wasn't just doing it as a hobby. If I'm going to do this, I'm putting in 100%. I'm putting in the time. I'm grinding, and you do it. You know what I mean? A lot of people have asked me in comic books and everything how I'm able to put stuff out. I'm like, you just need to finish. There's so many people that have so many great ideas and great concepts, and they start, but they never finish. And that's such a travesty, you know what I mean? So I tell anyone, I don't care if you think it's horrible, finish it. You'll learn from it, and you'll have the confidence to do a second one, and you'll improve. You know what I mean? So that's how I do with acting. Every audition, I go back and I try to think, what do I need to do differently? What's my approach? Every acting gig that I do, okay, how can I improve on my dialogue? How can I work on my block and make it easier for the director and the lighting guy so we're going faster and we're staying under budget? Because if I'm easy to work with, they're going to think about working with me again. It's all about, you gotta think as well as act. You know what I mean? Preparation is the most important thing when it comes to being creative. And luckily, right now, people are enjoying what I'm doing because I have an everyman look, apparently. I've been told I have a great face. I don't exactly know what that means. I guess facial expressions? I don't know.
Well, it's a good thing.
Yeah, whatever it is, I will take it.
So I was. You hear an echo? Maybe.
I'm squeaking a little.
Oh, I got an echo on my end, which is.
No, I don't have an echo.
Okay, we're good then. If you can't hear, it's all good. But I also was interesting. What is it like when the director says, an action or whatever, and you approach your scene, and you got the camera guys and the light guys, you have the guys with the sound. You just got so many people around, and then you have to go and focus on being in character for however long you're doing the scene for.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
I'm spinning. Oh, here I am. So it's very daunting to begin with. And if you can get tunnel vision, if you kind of think, you know what I mean? If you're like, oh, the whole vertigo thing. But one of the techniques we learned as Meisner is, like, we're talking, you're talking, I'm listening. So when you're finished saying something, it's going to hit me, and then I'm going to react to what you're doing and how you're saying it. That's basically it. That's how I go to pretty much every role. I think about the words, and it's not the words. You deliver the words back to them, how they make you feel, if that makes sense. Like, if you're angry and my scene is I'm supposed to calm you down, I'm not going to be like, oh no, it's okay. I'll be like, dude, whoa, hey, hold on. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can draw on your experience too, but you want to, they say create a character. What I do is I like to be very organic in my reactions. So what I do is if my character, I draw onto, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this. There's four things. I'm this person, this happened to me, this what makes me happy, this what angers me. And how you say that, I'm going to react. That's basically it.
And you do that no matter what part you have?
No matter how big or how small.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested about the whole acting stuff. So I got a couple questions about it. I was thinking about. So when you're doing a scene with someone,
yeah,
I'm assuming you got to know, besides your own lines, you got to know the other person's lines because you're communicating a conversation or whatever is going on. When you're actually acting, are you spending more time listening to that dialogue coming at you, or are you spending time remembering what you have to respond because you know, like, the timing or whatever? Or is there like any kind of improv where you can go off script a little bit as long as you're within the feel of the scene? Or is it just like, you have to do this?
It depends on the director and the project. There's some directors that want you to be word for word verbatim. And then you have to learn to be off book. And there's exercises for learning your lines fast and being able to do the repetition and know the words. Like for me, I have to know the first line and I have to know the last line. And then I just kind of go in and build the middle. And then once I do that, I'm saying them out loud because you're able to remember sound and this. The more of your senses you're using to remember something, the easier it will be.
Okay.
And then I just set it aside and I come back to it a little bit later and see how I'm doing. And then a little practice, you know what I mean? Whether you're talking to yourself. And if it has to be word for word, do the best you can. Because there's going to be some takes where it's not going to happen. And that's why you got take 2 or take 3. You know
right.
I mean? Or the director will change something completely. Like for 45 seconds, I had 3 pages of script. And the actor opposite me was Oba Babatente. And he was on Days of Our Lives Forever. He's actually on SWAT right now.
Oh, okay.
Emmy award-winning actor. Brand new sides, 11 o'clock at night. My day shoot was at 8 the next morning. I'm like, oh my God. So did the best I could. My first 2 takes were not great. And he was very nice. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I'm usually good on third take. Third take, I did very well. I said, and then as your scene partner, you're also acting, am I doing what you need to get what you want? So it's a collaboration too. You know what I mean? So yes,
okay.
You're waiting for the words, but if you're noticing that, like, okay, I'm going to take a dramatic pause or I'm going to do this and this, you're not going to be taken off guard. It's organic in your reactions, but you have it's more of a basic outline. But then there's some things like Joe Davison has a web series called South of Central, a comedy that he's the showrunner on. And I have a recurring role called Paul Hammerstone, Swarmy Lawyer. So me and Joe, we have lines and then we can ad-lib a little bit and just kind of improv. And it's absolutely great. Those are very fun because if you know your character, you can just kind of do kind of the words. If you're close to it, that's fine. Dan Marek was great because with my scene, I had a few lines, But I asked him, I said, okay, but I'm reacting to this and this. Shouldn't I say something else? And then turn into a whole lot more dialogue, which worked a lot better. So it's okay to ask questions too, and make sure that you are doing what the director wants. And realistic expectations are the most important thing that delivers an actor on stage. Because if you have an understanding and they have an understanding, when you get on there, it doesn't blow up.
Oh, got you. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. It's really interesting. I know you and I were talking before we went live, and that's just I've always just been really fascinated with the whole making TV, making movies, whatever, and not necessarily acting. When I was a kid, that would have been cool because you always picture yourself as like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Van Damme or something,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the actual nuts and bolts that go into making a movie or making a TV series is just completely fascinating to me. It's a art style that I would love to see in person one day. I don't even want to be involved in it. I'd love to just be backstage watching people do their things because that's just it's so cool how you can take that and then it transfers to what you see on screen. It's night and day different, Um, yeah, that's cool, man. So, I mean, you've had a really interesting, cool career. I'm actually pretty jealous. Pretty jealous. I'm not gonna lie.
Thanks, man. It's been, again, I got a great support group of people that allow me to kind of do what we do. Financially, we're in a spot where I can kind of do this and not be super stressed. So that helps quite a bit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it's, if it once I looked back on it a little bit and I was like, huh, wow, yeah, actually that's kind of cool. Actually, because you don't think of it at the time. At the time, you're just kind of like, you're going through the motions, you're doing your thing. But when you look back, you're like, oh wow, yeah, like inking Pablo Marcos some Red Sonja covers. Pablo never lets anyone ink his stuff, but he asked me to ink a few of his things for covers for Dynamite. And I said,
Nice.
that's great. And then I waited 5 years before one finally got published. And I was just sad when it finally got done. So you don't know. You
Right.
never know what's going to happen. And because you're always going on to the next, you're always it's always in the now, in the moment. Looking back on the career, I've made mistakes. I've made bad decisions. I've had no support from my first wife, and we were young, and she didn't like comic books, and it was what it was. And I think I could have been even more successful in comics had I done things differently. But I'm not going to complain. You know what I mean? I'm very thankful for my opportunities and being able to do the things I was able to do comic book wise. And, making the decision to do graphics as a joke back then turned out to be fantastic because I was able to make, a life and, make money to sustain not only myself, but kids growing up and everything. And now we're doing films and things are going well, and glory, thank you, Jesus. It's fantastic. You know what I mean? I don't know. Every day I wake up and I'm so thankful and I'm very grateful and I'm very humbled and I'm not worried about making mistakes. When you're younger, you're so worried about the little mistakes and every little thing is so magnified. Don't worry about the small things because those small things will teach you to be better and do better and will lift you up and you'll be exactly where you need to be. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's great. That's great advice. It really is. I wish I had listened to some more of that or some of that stuff when I was younger, especially when I was trying to break into comics when I was in my early 20s. That was an experience. What's funny about trying to break into comics, and you probably know this very well, is that most artists that you run into that look at your work are usually pretty kind because they've been there, but they want to give advice and they want to tell you the right directions to go and give encouragement.
Yeah.
But then the other side of the spectrum is talking to like editors who don't give a shit about you or your feelings, and they'll just rip the hell out of you. And I remember I was on such a high because I went to the first convention I ever went to, and the first person I ever showed my work to was Norm Brayfogle. And that dude, I read, I was very sad to hear of his passing
Me too.
when it happened, because he was so cool to me, and I was just this nervous young man, had no idea what I was doing, and he took the time to sit down and go over the entire portfolio that I'd put together, tell me what looked good, what I needed to improve, give me some words of encouragement, and then he's like, he gave me his email number. He's like, hit me up anytime you want. You got questions. I did for quite a while. I would just send him emails every once in a while and send him some of my work, and he'd look at it and send back stuff.
Yeah.
And then on the opposite side, I went to an editor at Dark Horse, and the dude told me I sucked. Pretty much, he's like, dude, you should never even show your work. Or he didn't say never. He said you shouldn't even be showing your work right now. He's like, don't show this to anybody. He's like, it's horrible. I was like, okay, man, thank you. I appreciate it. So I had this like high and this low all in the same day. But that's the interesting thing, and learning how to have thick skin and not letting roadblocks deter you. From when you're excited, you guys still be able to deal with when you fall down and just keep on going. And there were times when I was younger that I let it discourage me. There's no doubt. I wish I hadn't, but it's just life, I guess.
Yeah, me too. The best and worst critique I ever got on my samples was by DC editor Kim Yale. She was married to John Ostrander. She passed away a while ago. And I was feeling good about myself, and I'm showing my stuff like you, and I bring my stuff to her, and she takes a look at it, and it's a small show. This, I think, was 1996 or 7.
Oh, okay.
And she yells out, "Oh my God!" And literally everyone stopped. Silence. And she goes, "Now let me tell you something." And she spent 20 minutes very loudly picking every single little thing wrong.
Oh, no.
I mean, bam, 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 bam. I mean, cold sweat running down the back of
my
face. I mean, frozen. Oh my God. Oh, it's just horrible. And she stops and she gives it back to me. She goes, "No, you want to know why I did this?" And it's like, "You're crazy, horrible, blah, 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 blah." Because if you are serious and you work on these things, if you bring this back to me, I'd hire you. So many people, when you show your stuff, they have their own personal opinions.
Right.
People at tables, they're trying to sell things, or editors, whatever. And, "Oh, your feet are too big. Oh, your feet are too small. Oh, they're too wide, blah, blah, blah." And I said, you show it to as many people as you can, and then we see a theme or themes that are being mentioned, like anatomy, perspective, cars, whatever.
Right.
Oh yeah, fun times. But
absolutely.
But if you work on those things, that's what you need to focus on. You know what I mean? I get tickled pink when I see people that I help, or one of the people help, get into the business and become so much more successful than I am. There's an artist, Fabrizio, and I'm not going to say Fabrizio's last name because it's Italian. I'll butcher it. But amazing artist. And we were at MegaCon. This is when CrossGen just bought MegaCon. And he was showing me the samples, Conan. Gorgeous pencils. I mean, just phenomenal, gorgeous pencils. And I go, "Who are you working for?" "Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just starting." He flew over, first show. I said,
"Wow,
come with me." So I literally took him by the hand, took his artwork, and walked him over the CrossGen. And Bart Sears was there. And I go, bam. I said, "You have to look at this stuff and hire him."
Wow,
look at this stuff, cool, hire him. He got picked up that month.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's, inkers and different people, because they need that encouragement. Don't coddle them. Don't lie to them. Just be honest with them. You know what I mean? Be constructive on your criticism and things that are not right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if your stuff isn't good to show, I'm like, "Oh, this is horrible." I'm like, not yet. Yeah. Work on your stuff, tighten it up, then show. I said, "This isn't ready to show yet." And I've said that a few people, like, I'm glad you like this. This is not show ready. Right. And here's what you need to do to make it show ready. And I give them things they need to work on, and then they would come back. Don't discourage them. I got this kid I met at C2E2, and he wants to be an artist. And he's tried for a couple of years. He's 25. And he keeps coming to me, and people are saying, "You should never try to, you should be, either you should never be doing artwork because you're horrible, or you should have already made it already. What are you doing? I'm like, look, dude, you're 25. When I was 25, I was just breaking in. Don't worry about it. I said, take your time, practice every day, work on backgrounds, because that is what's going to get you hired. If you're a good artist that can do good backgrounds, get hired every day, and people that do great figures and whole backgrounds. Period.
Yeah.
Period. I will fight anyone that wants to argue with that.
No, I agree. I wish I'd spent more time doing the boring stuff when I was younger. You know, it wasn't until I got a little bit more mature that I actually focused on what it is to be a comic book artist. Like I always had natural ability to draw. Like it was a skill I was born with, and I was able to pick things up fast. But I didn't want to draw trees. I didn't want to draw buildings. I wanted to draw Spider-Man, you know. I wanted to draw masked characters. I wanted to draw them fighting, and I wanted to draw sexy women, you know. And that's all I ever focused on for the longest time. Sure. And when I started to do my own book when I was in my early 20s, it was interesting when I had to start doing scenes and putting characters in scenes. You know, it was a whole new world. And I think if I had kept on it before going into my career in music for 10 years after that, I think I probably would have progressed a lot faster, because I was just kind of getting that mentality of doing the stuff that I should have been doing years ago.
Yeah.
And when I came back to music, you know, or came back from music to art, that's kind of where I picked up. I was like, all right, I'm a little bit more mature now, and I know the weaknesses in my style. And so I had the mentality to go work on those weaknesses and draw all the boring stuff, you know, which oddly enough, when you learn how to draw that stuff and you start seeing it look good, it doesn't become that boring anymore.
No, it gets exciting because you're creating a world, and you're actually creating a scene. You know what I mean? It's discouraging when you have a full picture in your head and you can only draw half of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can draw the characters, but the backgrounds aren't exactly what you like. Doing the backgrounds and then the characters, and you complete the picture, gives you confidence and gives you a sense of accomplishment and makes you want to go on to the next. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's great advice for young artists. Definitely focus on those things. I would go back in a heartbeat, and I would tell my younger self definitely to do that if you wanted to progress faster. Shit. I was going to say something. I had a question along the lines. Oh, so I think it's really cool that, you know, the mentality that you have to want to help younger artists or just people, it doesn't matter, like you said, 25, however old, because that was one of the things that really got me when I was younger, because I watched so many of my heroes at the time. You know, I was big into Jim Lee. I was big into Rob Liefeld, you know, the early 90s, you know, breakout superstar artists. That's when I grew up. That's when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I remember reading so much material on them and how they were so good at like such a young age, you know. And I remember creeping up to that age and then going past that age and then going past that age and thinking to myself, I haven't even broken into the industry yet. You know, like my time is running out. So it is kind of a mental game when you put yourself up to those standards, when you start feeling yourself get a little bit older and you're like, man, all my heroes were superstars by, you know, 21, and here I am 25, 26, 27, just getting older and older and haven't even broke in yet, you know.
Well, there is the thing called natural ability, you know, natural talent. You know, they just happen to have very good talent. You know, you can say what you want about, you know, Rob Liefeld, but he has a very unique style and he renders it extremely well. And if you like that style, then that's fine. Fundamentally, there's things wrong, but stylistically, it's really, really dynamic and eye-popping. So
yeah, absolutely,
people like it. You know what I mean? You know, Mike Mignola, it might not be the same art style, but some people love his stuff, some people don't.
Yeah.
It's very subjective. Art is very subjective. So who am I to say what's really good and what's not really good? You know what I mean? So, but they were able to put something together much earlier than other people. Some people have to work for it. I had a friend, Tom Chat, and he's the one who helped me as an inker start getting noticed because his pencils were so good. He was one of those naturally gifted. He
Gotcha.
just didn't have to try. He just did it. It was
Right.
annoying, and I had to struggle and work at it. So trust me, I completely get it. But once you finally get there, after putting so much more time and energy, because you appreciate all the hours you put in so much more than someone that people take things for granted.
Right.
My opinion, at least.
You know, I'm 38 now, and I wish I had the mentality now, or I wish I had the mentality when I was younger that I have now, because I think it would have been, you know, a lot more beneficial. But you know, living in the past, you really can't do it. You got to live in the here and now. And the cool thing about comic books and being an artist is, until the day you can't hold a pencil, you can draw. You know,
Yep.
and I thought that was the coolest thing about that profession. I mean, you can draw until you're as old as you want to stop, or your eyes start failing, or you can't hold that pencil anymore. You know, so it's not like some of the other things in life where it's a young man's game and you really start feeling your age slipping away. So it is encouraging to know that as an artist or writer or an inker, you know, it's never really too late to try to jump in. You know, don't look at your age as a hindrance because you didn't make it when you were younger. You know, it's go for it.
It's a long game. Like anything creative, and people in the film industry tell me all the time, it's a long game. You're not, you know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon sort of thing. You have to be patient. You have to go with the dips and all like that. But we're in a society now where people want instantaneous, you know, gratification,
Yeah.
information, everything's so fast, and they have that expectation with careers and what they want to do. They want it now. That's not real world. I mean, that's not,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? People have to have, again, like I said before, realistic expectations. You set realistic expectations for yourself and realistic daily, weekly, monthly, 6-month, yearly goals that you can obtain. You'll get that gratification and you'll feel that I can do this. And if you
Right.
slip, it's okay. You just keep going, and it's not the end of the world. Just take another step forward. You know what I mean? I went this past, not this past summer, last summer, I was on a good roll. I had booked 2 commercials. I was on hold for 2 other commercials, and I had to call back for a third one. And I'm thinking, man, that's 20 grand. I'm going to have 20 grand. All of them gone.
Oh,
Nothing. Budgets got cut on 2 of them, or budget got cut, role got cut, 2 didn't book, and then I didn't get whatever. And then I had 4 months of nothing.
oh,
No auditions, no nothing. It was horrible. And I was like, I did a daily monologue challenge. So I did a monologue, learn a new monologue every day for 30 days. And it helped get me used to taping in front of a camera and learning lines faster. So when the auditions came again, I was not cold. I was warm. I was able to do it. And I started booking again. So that's why we're saying you need to draw every day. Not that you have to learn, you might know, but your muscles need it. It's like working out. You know what I mean?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
You need to have that. So when it's go time, you're warmed up and ready to go. You don't have to take time and draw bad and have that added pressure or ink or color bad. You're already up to speed and you're ready. You're game ready, right? You're game
Yep.
ready. You can just jump in, sprinting, and you're ready to go. So.
Yeah, that's such a real thing. A lot of people think that just because you have a talent to draw, that you can just because you're going to post your best stuff. You know, for the most part, you're going to post your best stuff, and that's what people are going to see. And so everyone thinks that that's your skill level, and some might, like you said, natural people, that might be it. But for the most of us, you got to constantly work that muscle out. That muscle memory, you got to constantly be drawing. And every single time, and it frustrates me to no end, that every single time, for whatever reason, you know, because I work a full-time job, I have a full-time family, sometimes things get in the way and I just can't get to my table like I'd like to. And there'll be times like where I'll go days without drawing. And it never fails that as soon as I go back, I sit down at the table, I've lost all the momentum that I had before. And it does. You go through that period. It's like, with me, it's at least a day, not a full day, but just at least a day of just getting back in there, drawing shit after shit after shit, and erasing after erasing, and being like, oh my God, I forgot how to draw. You know, like, and then
Yeah.
eventually it'll come back. But yeah, it really is interesting that you have to keep on it if you want to progress. There's no way around it. If you want to be in this industry, you need to draw, or you need to ink, or you need to do whatever. You can't sit around and just wait for it to come to you.
Exactly. Yep.
So we're hitting that hour mark, but one last question I had. Out of
You
everything you've
froze.
done in your, did I freeze?
Yeah. Okay, you're good now.
All right.
I see you.
Last question. Out of everything you've
Yeah.
done in your career and everything that you're going to do on the path you're on, what has been your favorite thing to do, or what has been your favorite thing that you have done? Because you do so much, you know, with all the different professions that you're in.
Wow. That's a very, very good question. So, I used to be constant, but I made the biggest progress taking breaks. That's true.
You know what's interesting about that, real quick, while you're thinking about your answer, is it's weird because I've 2 times in my life I've taken giant breaks away from drawing in general. I just did other things. And every time I came back with just a little bit of knocking the dust off, and then I was better. It's weird, you know, and I don't know why that is. Maybe a freshness of mind, maybe things click when you just get away from it and you come back and all of a sudden you jump
Yeah.
back into it and you perceive information better. But I've been that way too. You know, like I've taken big breaks and come back and been better than I was when I left. So, you know, I guess sometimes it can help, you know, but
Yeah.
in general, if you want to be the best you can be, consistently draw as much as you can. That's for sure.
All right. So for comics, it has to be just doing the Seventh Millennium, my first book. I didn't understand at the time what a big deal it was, but now looking back, I'm like, wow, that's a pretty big deal. You know, not only getting it, you know, put in to get distributed, but getting it distributed nationally and making a profit on it was just absolutely insane.
I feel you.
In graphics, it was helping create a line of bobblehead statues for DC Comics called Headstrong Heroes.
Oh, nice.
So I did all the package design. I did some concept illustration work for that, and they came out great. So that was a lot of fun. And acting, there's so much cool stuff. Yeah, working on Black Veil. Yeah, working with Dan Myrick and on Black Veil, and not only able to work on it, but talking with him and collaborating with him on my character and expanding what was originally thought to make it more rounded. And him listening to my ideas was absolutely fantastic. I mean, this is like, you know, he did the Blair Witch Project and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my 3 different things that just are very, very cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool, man. Well, you've had a hell of a career so far, and the sky's the limit, man. Just keep on doing what you're doing. That's awesome.
Just getting started, man. Just getting started.
Yep. Very excited for you and everything you got coming. If anybody has been watching this, you get a chance to check out any of Austin's movies that might be coming to Netflix or Hulu or Amazon or whatever, do it. I'm going to definitely check out. Would you say the one was 45?
45 seconds, yeah. It looks like it's going to be sometime in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you want to see some other films that I've done, just like South of Central, you should watch. It's funny. Joe Davidson, South of Central. There's episodes of me in there. It's goofy, it's corny, it's stoner humor, and you guys
best
will really
humor.
if you want to see some recent acting that I've done, I like my Paul Hamilton character, so go check that out.
So good. Thank you guys for sharing. Thank you for watching and commenting.
Thanks,
we appreciate that. So before we get out of here, Austin, where can everybody find your social media pages and anything you want to plug where they can find your work?
Sure. So on Facebook, I've got my regular page, Austin Janowsky. I have my art page, The Art of Austin Janowsky. Or if you want to check out Zombies, they have their own Facebook page, Zombies Were Human Too. I'm on Twitter, Janowsky2002, but I don't use it very much. Instagram, Austin Janowsky. YouTube, Austin Janowsky. See a theme. And then, yeah, my Kickstarter, the relaunch of Zombies Were Human 2 Volume 2. So, like I said, we've got a lot of great creators like Joe and everything like that. And you guys have to check out this book. If you like great stories, great artwork, and something unique when it comes to horror, this is the book for you. And I'm very thankful. I honestly didn't think we're going to be able to relaunch. I really thought I'm going to have to figure something else out. So the fact that we're not only able to relaunch, but fund it so quickly and get some really good stretch goals in is just absolutely fantastic. And I'm very thankful. So
yeah, I was pretty happy about that too when you guys relaunched it and that it got funded. I was like, all right, good deal.
And if you guys want to know a little bit more about me, just Google my name because you can find some neat stuff about me.
That is very awesome. You can find me on all the social media pages here on YouTube or Facebook, whatever you're watching, because we stream to both platforms. Joe M. Sonntag, type that in. You're gonna find me. Look for the sexy face.
Sexy face.
I'm just saying. Austin, it's
sexy face.
There we go.
I don't know. Where am I pointing? I don't know.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Like I had to really when Sean and I would host a show together, I had to start learning. Like I got to point away from him to point to him because it's a mind fuck. Well, Austin, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate that. It's great to plug some of the stuff. I had a hell of a time talking about your career. It's been a very interesting career. And we'll have to have you on again sometime when Zombies 3 or Zombies Were Human 2 Volume 3 comes out. And we'll plug that when it drops. So
sounds good to me, man. September. I'm excited.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching on this Saturday night. Be good. Be safe out there. Love everybody. Be good to everyone. And we will talk to you all later. Peace.